this is Solar. Welcome to this Minecraft tutorial all about the redstone torch. I've been meaning to make this video for a little while, and being as the UK is now on lockdown, it seems like as good a time as any to get on with it. So let's crack on. So, the redstone torch. Not a very good light source, but definitely a very useful tool. It gives an output, a full redstone output of all 16 blocks. As you can see, it lights up not only the block above it, but also the blocks around it are all powered, other than the block that it's placed on. This doesn't really matter whether it's placed on the side of a block or on top of a block, same effect. We can see as well that whenever the block that the torch is placed on is powered, either temporarily by a button or by a switch, the redstone torch will be turned off. As you can see, in front of me is a pillar where the redstone torches are powering and unpowering one another via the blocks that they're placed on. You can see next to those blocks that the redstone lamps that I've placed are also powered because of the block being powered, as is the torch. Except the effect is opposite because torches inherently are powered when you place them. If I flick the switch, you can see that this is reversed. You can see the same thing going sideways, except I've used some redstone dust just to elongate it. If you were to place the blocks where the dust is, it would be the same thing, just shorter. It's just, this helps to show that after the torch, obviously, the dust is powered, and then the reverse. So if we flick that switch, and you can see that the reverse has happened. So those lamps are now powered, the middle lamp is off because those blocks are now powered, and the middle lamp every time. So moving on now to using this principle to actually apply it to something fun. I'm a big fan of hidden doors, secret bases, that sort of thing, and the redstone torch can be invaluable in making doors that are concealed. So a very simple one to start with. You can see in front of us we've got a closed piston door. Hit the button and in we go. Now this works very simply by running a redstone line out the back of that pillar of blocks. The line comes round and comes over here, powers this block in front of me, and if we come round the other side, on the other side of that block is a redstone torch, as you see down there, which powers the block and the redstone dust that's placed on it, powering both of those pistons, keeping them shut. When we hit the button, if I come over here, try and get it so that you can see the torch as well, hit the button, the torch turns off, temporarily opening the door, and of course when the button's pulse is over, the torch comes back on and repowers the door, closing it. Very good application of this, dead easy to make and a lot of fun. Moving on to something a bit more complicated, this is possibly my favourite door, but it is a little more tricky to make. I designed it myself. This is basically a redstone key door. And for this we're going to need a redstone key, so let's get one of those. Now with this door, if we come up to the side and we want to place a redstone torch, that opens the door and allows us to pass through, but it also kicks off the torch at the same time. So if we go back round the other side now, you'll see it looks exactly the same. There's no way to tell that this is a doorway, which is what I love so much about it. You don't know it's there. And again, coming around here, you don't need to use a torch to get out because of course this is the secret part, so it doesn't really matter the opening mechanism here. I've gone for using a button. There we go, straight out. Let's get on to how this works in brief detail. I'm sure that a lot of you that know anything about redstone are wondering why I would choose to put a button on the floor and not a pressure plate. Well, the truth is, the first version of this design I made didn't really work so well with pressure plates, as you'd run through the door on the way in and then it would open the door again as you went over the pressure plate, which was just a little bit clunky. Since I've put the pulse extender in, this is no longer a problem, so in other words, go for it. You don't have to put a button on the floor, that's just daft. So, quick bird's eye view. The block that gets powered when we place the redstone torch is this one here behind the repeater, which in turn runs that line round, powers this piston here, which pushes out the furnace, which knocks the redstone torch off of the block it was placed on, leaving the wall flush again. But that itself does not power the doors to open. So if we look here, we have, going in this direction, a repeater flowing into a comparator pulse extender. If we come down a little bit, we'll see, whoa now. If we come down a little bit, we'll see that this then flows into a repeater here, which powers a piston, on top of a redstone block. That block gets pushed into the floor, which then in turn unpowers the two pistons that are at the door. Not too complicated, but it took a little bit of thinking to get my head around this when I initially made it. I must admit, I'm not a redstone expert. Couple of important things to note. We're not really here to talk about repeaters, but this repeater here, it's important to know that that should be set to 1 tick's delay, because it's not important as far as time goes. What's important here is that the redstone only flows in that direction and not backwards, because with this comparator pulse extender, the signal will flow around, and if there's no repeater there, it will start the piston that pushes the furnace outwards, and that will go 2-3 times, which is just a little bit ridiculous. With this repeater here, it's very important that that's set to 4 ticks, because that allows enough time for the comparator pulse extender to lose its signal, and then you won't get the door opening twice instead of once. So that must be set to 4 ticks. Moving on to the exit mechanism, that button there only flows into this line of redstone here, which in turn turns off this torch, unpowering the block above it, which then in turn powers that redstone torch because it goes back to its default setting. That then powers the redstone line that is set here, going again into those two pistons that are the door itself. We don't need, in this case, to power the piston that knocks the torch off the wall for the entrance, and that's again why we've got that repeater there on top, just because that stops the signal from going backwards and just making the whole thing a little bit messy. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope that it's taught you something. I know that I've enjoyed making it. I'm hoping to upload a few more tutorials and definitely some more tips on how to make hidden entrances and secret bases, because that is my bread and butter. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.